Alright, I feel like you were much further away yesterday, so let's just back you up. You know my hair's really fucking dirty when I have to part it on the side just to try to get away with it a little bit longer. Okay, so I know on Sundays I usually post a scary story, but I'm sorry, I don't have another scary story for you guys. So it turns out my brother is coming to visit me this weekend. It's Wednesday? Or is it Thursday? It's Wednesday. I was about to panic. It's Wednesday right now. My brother's coming on... It's Wednesday, my dudes. Okay, sorry. My brother's coming into town on Thursday with his girlfriend, so I wasn't able to wait for Tia to send me the second part to the story. I think she already has it written. She just had to like proofread it and everything. So I'm going to wait until next weekend to release the second part to it. I'm also probably going to do this more often, where I only do a scary story every other week for now. I know that sucks. I'm sorry. But I want to be able to post like more than just that, you know? I'm still gonna do a scary video for today. I'm gonna read like the top scariest short stories. I kind of just googled scariest short stories and we're gonna see what happens. A lot of you guys have been recently commenting on my 2-sentence horror stories and you're like, please do this again. And so I didn't want to do the same thing. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So these stories are a little bit longer, but they're just as terrifying, if not more. I know I also suck because I haven't read any of your guys' stories that you've sent to me. I have about 200 in the email that I made. I made the email. Thank you. I remembered. Good job, Court. I made the email. I will put it in the description, so you guys, if you have any other stories that you want to send me, please send them to that email. I'll still take some from Twitter and Instagram, but I have so many. And when they're in an email, you can see the number. It's just like even more intimidating. I need to go through them. I need to pick a day of my life to sit there and read them and go through them because I do have to skim them before I start the video, or else I just sit there and I'm like, okay, lots and lots and lots of stuff I have to do. I know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video anyways. I mean, what's not to enjoy? Yeah. Are you fucked? I just spilled on my white cheeks. This is why I'm not a functioning person. Well, fuckaroo. Good thing I gotta do laundry. I have about 10 loads in my closet right now. Okay, anyways, just get into the fucking video, Courtney. I'm gonna put the website that I'm using down below. I literally googled the scariest short stories, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna use the top ones that come up because chances are they are the scariest short stories. So I'm gonna read through probably a couple of the websites to find like really good ones, but I haven't read any of these yet. So here we go. Okay, so this one says 13 short creepy stories that will scare the crap out of you. So just exactly what I'm looking for. A father's laying in bed after just waking up. He grabs his baby monitor and walks to his desk in his office at home. He has the baby monitor next to him and hears his wife singing to her. He cracks a smile as he hears his wife go to sleep, go to sleep. When suddenly, the front door opens and his wife comes in with groceries. Fuck. A young boy is sleeping in his bed on the usual night. He hears footsteps outside of his door and peeks out of his eyes to see what's happening. His door swings open, quietly, to reveal a murderer carrying the corpse of his parents. After silently popping them up on a chair, he writes something on the wall in the blood of the dead bodies. He then hides under the child's bed. Are you fucking kidding me? I hate these. Oh, that wasn't even the end. Okay, sorry. I had to keep scrolling. The child is scared beyond belief. He can't read the writing on the wall, and he knows the man is under his bed. Like any child, he pretends that he slept through the whole thing, and he hasn't awoken yet. He lays as still as the bodies, quietly hearing the breaths from under his bed. An hour passes, and his eyes are adjusting more and more to the darkness. He tries to make out the words, but it's a struggle. He gasps when he finally makes out the sentence. I know you're awake. And he feels something shift underneath his bed. I don't even want to read anymore after I don't want to get out of my bed. I don't want to move off my bed. I picked a horrible place to film today's video. I don't want to get off my bed. Hello? Oh my god. Okay, I get too paranoid about this shit. Mommy told me to never go into the basement. Well, this reminds me a lot of a story I just read. Mommy told me to never go into the basement, but I wanted to see what was making that noise. It sounded like a puppy, and I wanted to see the puppy, so I opened the basement door and tiptoed down a bit. I didn't see a puppy, and then Mommy yanked me out of the basement and yelled at me. Mommy never yelled at me before. It made me sad, and I cried. Then Mommy told me to never go into the basement again. She gave me a cookie. That made me feel better, so I didn't ask her why the boy in the basement was making noises like a puppy, or why he had no hands or feet. Fuck your mom! A man leaves his house every morning to walk to work and passes a mental hospital surrounded by a wooden fence. Every morning the patients are out in the yard and he can hear them saying in unison, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. One day he gets curious and looks through a hole in the fence. Suddenly a stick shoots out and pokes him in the eye. Fuck, he says to himself. While walking away pissed off, he can hear the patient saying, 11. 11. Is that supposed to be scary or funny? Because that's kind of funny. It'd be scarier if they like brought him in and now he's part of it and now he's the 11th, but they just like poked him in the fucking eye. I'd be like, fuck you. When I was a child, my family moved to a big old 2-story house with big empty rooms and creaking floorboards. Both my parents worked, so I was often home alone when I came home from school. One early evening when I came home, the house was still dark. I called out, Mom, and heard her sing-song voice say, Yes, from upstairs. I called her again as I climbed the stairs to see which room she was in, and again got the same yes reply. We were decorating at the time, and I didn't know my way around the maze of rooms, but she was in one of the far ones, right down the hall. I felt uneasy, but I figured that was only natural, so I rushed forward to see my mom, knowing that her presence would calm my fears, as a mother's presence always does. Just as I reached for the handle of the door to let myself into the room, I heard the front door downstairs open and my mother call, "Sweetie, are you home?" in a cheery voice. I jumped back, startled, and ran down the stairs to her. But as I glanced back from the top of the stairs, the door to the room slowly cracked open. For a brief moment, I saw something strange in there. I don't know what it was, but it was staring at me. That was kind of like the one that's like when your mom calls your name and like she's like in the room and downstairs at the same time, but like a longer version of it. I like that better. I feel like this gives it more context, and it also wasn't their mom in the room, so never mind. I check into a small hotel a few kilometers from Kiev. It's late. I'm tired. I tell the woman at the desk I want a room. She tells me the room number and gives me a key. But one more thing, comrade. There's one room without a number and it's always locked. Don't even peek in there. I take the key and go to the room to sleep. Night comes and I hear the trickling of water. It comes from the room across. I cannot sleep, so I open the door. It's coming from the room with no number. I pound on the door with no response. I look in the keyhole. I see nothing except red. Water still trickling. I go down to the front desk to complain. "By the way, who's in that room?" She looks at me and began to tell me a story. There was a woman in there, murdered by her husband. Skin all white, except her eyes, which were red. Fuck me! Can you imagine going to a haunted hotel and that being the shit that like went down and you hear the fucking blood trickling pretty much? I wanted to go to a haunted hotel and stay there too, like for a video, because I think it'll be entertaining. And I usually don't get that scared of things, you know, in the moment. Okay, I'm a pussy, never mind. But then this shit, I'm like, is it worth it? Probably not. There's a short story about a man who was driving through the mountains and came across a crash. The car wasn't damaged at all and almost deliberately placed in the middle of the road. He drove past and saw two people lying in the road. He pulls up in front of the crash and then looks back to see the people sat up and 20 or so eyes reflecting in his taillights from the surrounding bushes. He slams on the gas and goes. This story scares me because this thing does happen with mountain tribes, who are either cannibalistic or crazy. Okay, that's like a fucking real story. Oh, wait, yeah, no, what? Okay, we're gonna go to another website, see what we can find. Oh, this is BuzzFeed, these should be good. I don't know why I looked up, but when I did, I saw him there. He stood against my window. His forehead rested against the glass, and his eyes were still and light, and he smiled a lipstick red cartoonish grin. He just stood there in the window. My wife was upstairs sleeping, my son was in his crib, and I couldn't move. I froze and watched him looking past me through the glass. Oh, please no. His smile never moved, but he put a hand up and slid it down the glass, watching me, with matted hair and yellow skin, and faced through the window. I couldn't do anything. I just stayed there, frozen, feet still in the bushes. I was pruning, looking into my home. He stood against my window. Oh my fucking plot twist! Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh no. Originally, I thought the man was outside of the window, like looking in at him. But the man was inside. The man was in fucking side. Oh my god. I would die. Well, that's a plot twist if I've ever seen one. Last night, a friend rushed me out of the house to catch the opening act at a local bar's music night. After a few drinks, I realized my phone wasn't in my pocket. I checked the table we were sitting at, the bar, the bathrooms, and after no luck, I used my friend's phone to call mine. After 2 rings, someone answered, gave a low, raspy giggle, and hung up. They didn't answer again. I eventually gave it up as a lost cause and headed home. I found my phone laying on my nightstand, right where I left it. No! I get so paranoid about everything in my life, and now I'm like looking at my nightstand, I'm like... To celebrate their first year in university, 6 friends went camping in the wilderness. After driving for several hours from the nearest town, they discovered a lagoon, nestled beside a cliff ideal for diving. They set up camp in the woods nearby and spent the evening swimming in the warm, clear water. As the sun sunk below the trees, one of the friends went up to the highest point of the cliff and jumped off, while the other 5 watched. Their laughter slowly subsided as they waited for him to surface. It only took half a minute for them to dive in after their friend. Struggling and sputtering among the reeds in the lagoon, they searched hopelessly for him. Finally, they disentangled themselves and came up, but they never saw their friend again. Heartbroken, they returned to the city and passed a strange and lonely year in which their only solace was the knowledge that they would return to the lagoon to honor the anniversary of their friend's death. A year passed. They returned to the lagoon as a memorial, but as they approached, they saw their friend, standing there, head bowed. Excitedly, they called him and began running towards, but he didn't turn. As they got closer, they called him more desperately, but still to no avail. With joy, they ran towards him, but stopped dead when they saw not one, but 5 crosses on the water side. Wait, you are fucking with my brain, and I'm not okay with it right now. What? What the fuck just... My wife was shaking me quietly. I looked around the cabin. The girls must have gone to bed. The fire had burned down to embers. My glass of scotch was still in my hand. Someone was tapping on the porch. Then I heard it too. I grabbed my axe and lit the lantern. I opened the door expecting a raccoon or a skunk, but instead found a boy of about 10 years old. He stared at me, petrified for a moment, then bolted down the path through the woods. I gave chase. He was losing me, but I heard him tumble to the ground. I leapt on top of him in a rage. "Why were you knocking on my porch?" I screamed. "My uncles told me to," he stammered. I was no longer angry, but confused. "But why?" I asked. "To get you out of the cabin." No! Why did they end that right there? Okay, like, I understand what's going on, like, now they're gonna attack him, but like, come on. See, I like the 2-sentence horror stories because it's like so much just shoved into like literally 2 sentences that scares the fuck out of you. But I like these because they're longer and give you more of like a backstory to it, but then they just leave you fucking hanging. And I feel like that's even more terrifying because then your mind's just like, what happened to him? Any day now, she'll say her first words. My wife and I have been playfully betting on what she'll say first, mama or daddy. I can hear my wife cooning over and over while she feeds her. "Mama's little girl, mama loves you so much." Sometimes she's not even subtle about it. "Say mama, come on, mama." I don't mind it though. I still believe I'll win. When we first brought her home, she would scream and cry, and nothing my wife would say could calm her down. But I knew just how to hold her to help her fall asleep. Our daughter was a daddy's girl. My wife needed all the handicaps she could get. I sit our daughter in her chair, and my wife and I began babbling like chickens. "Mama, daddy, say mama, who's daddy's baby?" I pulled the gag from our little girl's mouth. "Please, what do you want from me? Please let me go." I don't want to fucking keep reading. I don't want to fucking keep reading. I don't want to... My wife's smile falls from her face. With a heavy heart, I put the gag back in as the girl starts to scream. I take her back to the room, locking her in and shutting the lights out. When I return, I find my wife crying. "It's okay, honey," I tell her. "The next one will be better. I promise." What the fuck am I reading right now? These are just demented. That is the... You're fucking with my brain. What? What? Why? That's so fucking scary. That's terrifying. He had been given the watch on his 10th birthday. It was an ordinary gray plastic wristwatch in every respect except for the fact that it was counting down. "That is all the time you have left in the world, son. Use it wisely." And indeed he did. As the watch ticked away, the boy, now a man, lived life to the fullest. He climbed mountains and swam oceans. He talked and laughed and lived and loved. The man was never afraid, for he knew exactly how much time he had left. Eventually the watch began its final countdown. The old man stood looking over everything he had done, everything he had built. 5. He shook hands with his old business partner, the man who had long been his friend and confidant. 4. His dog came and licked his hand, earning a pet on the head for its companionship. 3. He hugged his son, knowing that he had been a good father. 2. He kissed his wife on the forehead one last time. 1. The old man smiled and closed his eyes. Then nothing happened. The watch beeped once and turned off. The man stood standing there, very much alive. You'd think that in that moment he would have been overjoyed. Instead, for the first time in his life, the man was scared. Like, I feel like I would be like relieved, like I'd be like, wow, I'm not dead, but at the same time I'd be like, what the fuck, all this hype up for like me dying. Okay, that's horrible. I don't even know how to feel about this story. Like, I feel like that would suck, yeah, but at the same time, wouldn't you be like, fuck yeah, I'm not dead? I don't know, you get to keep living on your life with your family and your friends. It's not that bad. That's not a scary story. That was a horrible one to end it off at. I can't even end it there. I mean, it was like a good story, but not scary. Okay, I'm gonna read one more. Hopefully this one's scary. The rainy season began in early summer, and June had been no exception. It did not surprise the man when he discovered rainwater dripping from his dining room ceiling. Shrugging it off, he placed a tall pot beneath the leak and expected it to stop on its own. However, it continued to rain, and before he knew it, the pot would threaten to overflow. He had to dump the water out first thing in the morning, and straight after he returned home from work. Eventually, he began to notice water damage at the source of the leak. The white ceiling had been discolored, turning a dull shade of brown. He checked the weather and realized it would continue to rain sporadically over the next 10 days. The man was worried about the ceiling mildewing and becoming an expensive repair, so he called a local handyman. Unfortunately, the man could not sign to have the repairs done. Only his landlord could. It was a frustrating policy. The man called his landlord but could not reach him. He left him a few voicemails, detailing how the damage was becoming progressively worse. The man was clueless as to why his landlord would not return his calls. They usually kept in touch, speaking at least twice a month. Finally, he reasoned that he could not be held responsible for any damages sustained. One night, the man was startled awake by a massive thump. He quickly turned on his bedside lamp, and just vaguely, he could see an overturned table and a large shape laying across it. He sprinted out of his apartment and called the police, gagging at the smell. The man sat in the police station with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders and a coffee mug resting in his hands. He did know one thing. There had been a dead body in his ceiling, and the water had saturated it so badly that it caved under the weight. So far, the body was unidentifiable due to the rainwater and was being autopsied. While the man waited, he called his landlord and finally reached him, panicking as he explained the situation. His landlord was just as alarmed, and the man pleaded for him to come to the station while he made a statement. The man paused as the detective crossed over to him, and he lowered his phone, wondering if the body had been identified. His blood ran immediately cold, and he shook his head with terror. The body belonged to Richard Thompson, his landlord, and he had died over a year ago. That's not what disturbed him the most. If this landlord was dead, then who was pretending to be him? Fucking great way to end the story. Can't wait for my landlord to kill me tonight. And my neighbors are so fucking loud all the time. I feel like they're just like secretly murderers and they're just killing people in their kitchen. Ow, that kind of hurt. I shouldn't read any stories that deal with like apartments or landlords or living alone because I don't sleep at night anymore. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like getting scared just as much as I do. Except I hate getting scared, but I know you guys like me getting scared, so here we are. I'm hoping that next week I'll have one of my Tinder videos out and I will have part 2 to Tia's story that I read last weekend? Yeah, last weekend. I'm sorry you guys will have to wait a little bit longer for that one. I'm sorry. But I'm excited for my brother to come in town, so I hope you guys are excited for me to be excited for my brother to come in town. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye. This story scares me because this kind of thing— oh no, what, Siri, fuck you. Recording in my bed just makes me tired and literally just makes me want to fall asleep. So I think I'm going to take a nap. See ya.